What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Young Guns podcast. Holy crap, guys. Who would have thought Vancouver would have been in essentially the same spot they were last season? We thought with Bruce Boudreau being in the mix, at the start of the season, he helped the team get back on track last year. JT Miller was re signed, Brock Besser was re signed. The team looked very promising. They added in a couple of new players, but, still on paper, defensively, they were weak, but we still thought this team would have been competitive. Even though there's certain players on this team that have been kicking ass and taking names, unfortunately, defensively and goaltending wise, who would have thought, they're struggling. So, Luca, take it away.
Yeah, this is actually a really interesting situation in Vancouver because, you know, they haven't they haven't played that bad offensively. They've been a really good offensive team. Bo Horvat's got 14 goals, Pedersen's got 7, JT Miller's got 10, Andrei Kuzmenko's got 7 as well. This is a team that's scoring goals. They're putting the puck in the net. They're 8th in the NHL in goals forward. The issues have been defensively and goaltending wise. They're second worst team in the NHL in goals against. And I was looking at the stats before, and obviously I was just paying attention to the Canucks a little bit and just kind of watching them a little bit. Thatcher Demko's been awful this season. He's been absolutely abysmal. And I don't know if this is a guy that's coming in and dealing with some issues. I don't know if this is a guy that's dealing with an injury and playing through an injury or what it is, but Thatcher Demko does not look like a goaltender that is ready to play games in the NHL. He looks really like nervous. He doesn't look like he's ready to play hockey, and it's very strange. It's very strange. He's got one win in 11 games. He's conceded 44 goals. He's got a goals against average of 4.02, a save percentage of 0.874. He's been abysmal. And it's, I know that people look at this and they look at the coaching situation, and they look at Bruce Boudreau and they say this is his issue. But I think this stems beyond coaching as well. And I'm not trying to say that Bruce Boudreau shouldn't get the blame for this. I think he should get the blame in some capacity, but this is a situation where Vancouver defensively have not been good. And it could be a situation where the system is an issue, but this is a team that has had issues defensively for a long time. Look, when you've got guys like Oliver Ekman-Larsson who are not playing up to standards, Tyler Myers who are not playing up to standards, guys that are taking over the contract situation for the Canucks, you're paying Oliver Ekman-Larsson $7.2 million, you're paying Tyler Myers $6 million, and these guys are your best defensemen. There's an issue there, right? Obviously, they brought in Ethan Bear. I don't think Ethan Bear's been that bad. I think he's been okay in the games that he's played. But it that's not going to cut it. And then it's Riley Stillman, Luke Shen, Jack Rathbone, and Kyle Burrows. This is a team that needs to improve defensively, get some defensively minded defensemen, and find a way to help their goaltender. And Thatcher Demko on the other end as well has to play better. And I know that people are saying, "Oh, look at the team in front of him." I agree, but also he's got to make saves, man. You got to ask for a goalie to make saves, and when he's letting in 4 goals a game, at some point, yes, it's on the defense, but at some point, it's on your goaltending as well. So I think this is an issue where Vancouver offensively are solid. They're good. They're a good team. The issue stems from the back end. And I don't know if bringing another coach necessarily changes that. And I don't know if, making one trade necessarily changes that either. This is a team that needs to add defensive players and find a way to bolster that decor because that's the issues they've had for so many years.
Look, there's a lot to, take in. They had a huge makeover in the front office department, right?
Yep.
Patrik Allvin, new general manager. You're bringing a president in Jim Rutherford, who's won a couple of Stanley Cups um, as a general manager in the past. Bruce Boudreau, who's, a pretty good coach. And, they were doing well. A lot of, things were progressing well, moving away from the Jim Benning era, right?
Yep.
And at one point, I think they finished a couple of points off from a playoff spot. Sorry. So, that really give them a boost. But now looking at this, situation, I don't think it's really a management or coaching situation. Like you're saying, it was more of a defense problem. Struggling goaltender. Maybe it's even the locker room. A lot of people did not like the way that JT Miller started the season. A lot of people are criticizing him, especially with the contract that he was getting paid. Everyone thought that JT Miller was good as gone. This guy comes out of nowhere, signs an extension, and he's going to be getting paid $8 million per season after the season. So that's pretty crazy. People were saying like at this moment it's going to be pretty hard to move a contract like that if they decide to go through a free like a full rebuild or something, because apparently Rutherford and management are having discussions with ownership right now to discuss what is the plan moving forward. There's names like Andrew Brunette, who's an associate coach for New Jersey. He's happy there, but like Darren Drago was saying, that he did get interviewed by Brunette prior to joining the Devils. So, he could always, leave, the Devils and potentially be the new coach there. There was Rick Tokic that was been mentioned as well. He was interviewed from a couple of teams. If I'm mistaken, Dallas interviewed him before they hired Peter DeBoer. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. Bo Horvat, who's a UFA at the end of the season, who's currently the Vancouver's, leading scorer in points and in goals. So, I mean, there's a lot to take into consideration. Brock Besser gets a contract during the offseason. Everyone thought he would have bounced back because unfortunately his dad passed away last year and he was, struggling with that. And, everyone was just expecting a fresh start this season under new management, a couple of new players like Eli Mikheyev.
Mikheyev.
I can't even pronounce his name. Andre Kuzmenko has really made a fantastic transition from KHL to NHL. But Brock Besser, an elite sniper who just got a new contract, has 0 goals and just 9 assists. That's unacceptable. Like,
And
I don't know, man.
and I gotta say something. Look, I think that they should trade Brock Besser, and I think they should have traded Brock Besser like 2 years ago. This is a guy that is clearly not it, his confidence is not there anymore. This is a guy that would score 20, 25 goals. People were touting him to be a 30, 40 goal scorer, and he hasn't lived up to that expectation. He needs to be traded. And I think that in a situation where the Canucks are in right now, they need to trade him for a defenseman. They need to call teams in the NHL, see who's interested in Brock Besser, and acquire a defenseman. This is
Wait, let me add something to that, Luca, because that's a very good point. Apparently, on Jeff Merrick's show, it's Bo Horvat who's most likely going to be dealt before Christmas or around
which
Christmas
dealt,
time,
which makes sense.
and they're looking for a defenseman in return. So
which makes sense because they need
you
that.
know,
And Bo Horvat's contract's coming up. The Canucks get a shit ton for him right now because he's playing really good. And if a team's willing to take Bo Horvat not only as a rental but even as an extension, you're expected to get a lot for a guy like that. He's second in the league in goals, so Bo Horvat's value is probably at the highest it's ever been. So I'm not surprised that the Canucks are trying to move him because at the end of the day, I know he's the captain, but there's rumors that he may not re-sign in Vancouver. And at this point, just take assets.
well, I mean, according to Craig Button, he said that he's done in Vancouver. That Bo Horvat is done. He's not coming back. He's getting traded by like the deadline, but people are even reporting even earlier. Like they just want that dossier done and over with.
And you gotta find look, I heard a rumor that maybe Chikrin would have made sense for a team like Vancouver. I don't see that happening. I mean, it could happen, but I don't see that
health
happening.
Issues. Everyone's worried about that. All of a sudden.
I think Vancouver really needs to do their due diligence here. I know the draft is coming up at the end of the year, and obviously there's Connor Bedard. That's an opportunity that you can take as well. But this is
Didn't you say that he's from Vancouver, right? He's from British Columbia.
He's from British Columbia. He's also a Canucks fan. It makes perfect sense to have Bedard be your franchise player. But in terms of Vancouver, I'm not talking about the offense because the offense is not the issue. They're 8th in the NHL in goals forward. This is not a team that's struggling to score goals. This is a team that can't keep the puck out of the net. And I'll give an example. I know we always talk about the Habs, but it's just because we watch them a lot, right? And the game against the Canadiens, they were horrible, man. They would give the puck away to the Habs like it was like free cookies, man.
I think I
Take the
think
puck.
Demko let in a goal like 30 or 50 seconds into the start of the first period. Like I was physically at that
But
game,
but
and like
yeah,
Montreal was all over Vancouver up
but
until the third period when Vancouver started waking up.
But
But I
even
mean,
that
like,
doc, even the doc goal, right? JT Miller's giving the puck away in the center of the ice. It bounces, and Doc takes a little touch to it, goes under Demko's legs and in. Like that sums up the Canucks season pretty much. They're horrible defensively. And it starts with Demko, yes, but the decor sucks. And JT Miller sucks defensively. And I was watching Steve Dangle's podcast, and he talked about JT Miller, and I agree with him. He's probably one of the worst defensive players in the NHL. He sucks defensively. He's lazy. He doesn't
everyone
do anything.
everyone
It's
was making
horrible.
everyone was making jokes when they retired Kevin Biekska's number.
Yeah.
He was practicing with the team, and people on the Spitting Chicklets, I think it was Biznasty and
Yeah.
Whitney, they were saying like, "Oh my god, I think Biekska's making a return." And they really need that because defensively they're horrible. And
Oh,
honestly,
oh,
man,
no.
like I think he's in good shape and everything. He would have been a fantastic addition. But my problem here is how management handles the youth. Everyone's complaining about Jack Rathbone, how he should be playing a lot more minutes and a lot more games. People are not happy with how Niles Hoglander's turning out and Vasily Podgolzin as well. They're not happy with their development. They're really, really not happy. And like,
Yeah. And
I don't know what to like, what they're doing because like everyone thought heading to the season that like these guys were gonna make like a significant like impact. Hoglander was not bad like 2 years ago, and ever since like Bruce Boudreau came in, like he's been sent to the AHL, scratched many times. I mean, many players have been scratched. Like Andrea Kuzmenko's been scratched, Garland has been scratched. He's not afraid to scratch players, which I understand in this situation you need to make a statement. But I mean, there's a lot of like sketchy, weird things going on. Like
I wanna
right now, there's a lot of talk around Vancouver, and I'm really curious to see how this all like turns out because this team, if it continues like this, they will be a bottom feeder team.
and
And even though you look at them on paper and they're not, like looking at a team on paper means nothing. If the team is good on paper, but they cannot translate that success onto the ice and develop any chemistry as a whole, changes need to be made. And they have a
well,
lot of assets to trade that they will get a haul for that they could build for the future and probably build a better team, maybe around a guy like Bedard if he does get the opportunity to get drafted by his his childhood team.
but it's not just like, look, I know we've been seeing rumors that Rick Tocchet is potentially a candidate for the coaching job. We've seen rumors about Andrew Brunette. We've seen rumors about different coaches as well. There was Claude Julien as well that got mentioned. Um, I look. Maybe I'm wrong, and Canucks fans can write it in the comments if I am wrong. I don't think Bruce Boudreau is the problem, and I say that because listen, Travis Green last year when he came in, everyone blamed him for Vancouver being bad. Boudreau came in, changed the outcome of the team. They almost made the playoffs. All of a sudden, this season starts, and it's the same season as the year that Travis Green was in. But the problem is they didn't improve their defensive core at all. They signed Ilya Mikheyev, and that's about all they did. And I know that people want to look at this and say we trust Patrik Allvin and we trust Jim Rutherford, and I agree. I think you should. I think he's better than Benning. But the issue here is that they have two guys on their team that make a combined $13 million that are playing like defensemen that belong in the AHL. That's Tyler Myers and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And it's true. People can hate me all they want. It's true. Both guys are playing like they belong in the AHL, right?
I yeah. I really don't know who they could acquire in terms of defensemen. They're not gonna go for a UFA. I think it's maybe it is a little bit too late to turn this team around this season and go for a playoff spot. We'll see what happens. It's
You
still
know, you know who's
fairly
an
well
interesting
early
defenseman.
in the season, so we'll see what happens.
You know who's an
Sorry.
interesting defenseman, and I know I don't want to bring back the Habs in, but a guy like David Savard who blocks shots. That's a type of defenseman of David
They need a
Savard's stature.
defensive defenseman
That's
that
it.
actually could move the puck and
and
actually
play
put in some
defense.
effort.
And play defense. And I think that like a guy, I'm not saying David Savard specifically. I'm saying a defensive, a David Savard type of defenseman is what they need. They need a guy who's going to be a shutdown guy. They don't have that. Quinn Hughes is not a defensive defenseman. He's very good offensively and has liabilities defensively. But the issue is not Quinn Hughes. Right, when the guy has 14 points in 13 games, it's not the defenseman's fault. Like this is more than just offense. This is the defense's
Yeah.
issue. And I think also, yes, people are gonna look at this. Spencer Martin's 4-1-1. Thatcher Demko's 1-8-2. Demko needs to be better. It's that simple. Demko needs to be better. And if
Well,
Demko's
look,
not better, this team is not going anywhere.
we're
And
gonna
that's the truth.
conclude this episode, reading
Yeah.
Canucks Army's article of 11 potential Canucks shakeup trades. So the first one, very quickly, Tyler Myers, and they're saying teams like Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa, Toronto could be fits. What are they expecting? At least a third round pick. Tanner Pearson.
A third
They're
for Tyler Myers.
Yeah, apparently, according to this
No,
article.
that guy's not even worth future consideration. I'm sorry. No, no, I'm sorry.
Calgary,
He got bodied
Calgary,
by Cole Caulfield, bro. It's over. Your career's done. Like,
Calgary, Carolina, Minnesota, New York Islanders, Washington, teams that could be a destination for Pearson, a third round pick, range type of potential in terms of a value for a player. Connor Garland,
Tyler Myers. That's
at least a low first round pick. Teams like the Hurricanes, Red Wings, Los Angeles, Nashville, Islanders, Washington, Oliver Ekman Larson, none. Negative
yeah.
value.
Yeah, he's
Wow.
like even him.
Um,
Like even him, he's nothing. He's worth nothing. He's
JT
literally
Miller,
nothing.
Arizona, Boston, New York Islanders, potential first round pick and a prospect. Brock Besser, Calgary, Detroit, Minnesota, Nashville, Islanders, a first round pick and a prospect. Put Golzin or Hoglander or both. Teams interested anyone that's literally like looking for some youth and trying to take on a so-called
I
project
would take a
of a
chance on
player,
Golden.
a potential return first round pick or equivalent D prospect, Luke Shen, any playoff bound team, a second round pick, Bor Horvat,
Basically, trade the whole
Boston,
team. That's what he's saying. Trade the whole team. He's
Boston Hurricanes, Avalanche, Columbus, Detroit, Minnesota, Islanders, Toronto, Washington, a blue chip prospect and a 2023 first round pick,
for Luke
Thatcher
Shen.
Demko. Wow, they're actually throwing in Demko's name. That's surprising. Buffalo, Columbus, Detroit, Edmonton, Los Angeles, New Jersey, Ottawa, Toronto, a blue chip prospect, and a first round pick. Well, guys, that's according to the Canucks Army about 11 shakeup trades for the Vancouver Canucks moving forward. So it seems like
I'll
they're
be
just going to
honest, none of
focus
those are gonna
building
happen.
on. Yeah, no, I don't really think so either. But that's according to Canucks fans, especially a guy who wrote an article like that. It seems like they really just want to focus building around Quinn Hughes.
I don't want to.
and Patterson.
I don't want to disregard that article. I think he wrote it with the best intentions, but like no offense, a third round pick for Tyler Myers is not out. Like, dude, if any team in the NHL trades a third round pick for Tyler Myers, they should fire their GM tomorrow morning. Like, it's that simple. Like, your GM is trying to sabotage you. Like, that's it.
Well, we'll see what happens. But like I said, guys, a lot of talk right now. We had to talk about our thoughts about surrounding the Vancouver Canucks, especially with all this drama, trade rumors, who's going to get fired, who's going to get hired, who's going to get traded, and what's the value. When should we expect any trades? People are even saying maybe by the end of this week. I don't know, man. This is crazy. We had to cover it. We hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. Vancouver Canuck fans, we'd like to hear your thoughts, your frustrations, everything right in the comment section below. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast already, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, like this episode, and share this with anyone who may be interested in this topic and who loves the sport of hockey. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you on the next episode of the Young Guns Podcast.